Okay, so let's talk about cover letters. Let's make the video that everybody wishes had already been made 20 years ago.
Wish we don't still do.
Please don't spill. Please don't spill. Okay, my notes on cover letters.
Perfect. The secret recipe of a good cover letter.
Exactly. That's
Okay.
that's a good video title, actually. I'll use that as the
Okay.
the secret recipe
Secret recipe of a good.
of a
Okay.
perfect cover letter.
Okay.
Okay, I think a great thing to start out with is I think everybody can agree nobody likes cover letters.
Nobody. I hate it.
Yeah, they suck.
I don't know. I feel like it's a waste of time.
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly. That's the feeling that everybody has. Like, oh my gosh, I have to write a cover letter. That sucks.
Yes.
What a waste of time. Yeah. And I think this video though, these notes are gonna change that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna.
What I'm gonna do is whatever you are saying, I'll make the point like minutes of the meeting, and later we can share it in the video.
Yeah, we can do a follow up.
Yes.
And we can review your cover letter. That would be
Yeah.
great. That would be like the first
So
time.
this will be
The template.
exactly.
Yeah. That will be like the first ever open cover letter review.
Again, yeah.
Yeah, another
Yes.
historic.
And that's an academic cover letter, right?
Well, yours is going to be one for industry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, so I write academic cover letters because I'm writing for applying for academic jobs. But this is not. This is about general.
Okay.
This is not just an academic one.
Okay.
This is for all cover letters. Just for the fun of it, like I did a Google like how to write a cover letter, and there is a lot of bad advice. A lot, like you get this frustrated feeling when you look at the advice. So like a common piece of advice I always got was, don't just repeat what's on your CV. And it's like, okay.
Okay. What else?
Right? Oh yes.
Oh yes.
Irish. I looked on Indeed. Like Indeed has a page of advice on how to write a cover letter or what to write. One of their pieces of advice is show your passion for the position, which is really bad advice, I think, actually.
Okay.
I think that's really bad because it's like you have to BS. You know,
Yes.
you're not going to be passionate about the position you're applying for in reality. It's like you want a job, you expect me to write some BS about how passionate I am towards a company. That's just not like truthful. You know what I mean?
It sounds like everybody's gonna lie.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And I wouldn't want to read that either. If I was an employer, I'd be like, I don't want to read how passionate you are about like this company.
Like show me your skills you have.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And they provide an example. I read the example on Indeed, and it's very poor.
Basic.
It's very basic, and I think the most appropriate word is forgettable. It's just goes through the motions, and you immediately forget it. You don't feel like you got rewarded for reading it. It's like it just gets the job done, and you forget about it, like kind of cover letter.
Okay.
So this is going to change all that, obviously.
Yes.
I have 4 things, themes to focus on in the cover letter. It's just one
4
page.
Themes.
4 themes,
Okay.
yeah. First theme that is a great thing to talk about is skills, right? Everybody has a list of skills that they put on their CV. Mm-hmm. So to focus and look at those, and specifically background information on the skills, right? Not just the results. So, for example, how did you develop those skills? Whatever those skills are, how did you develop them?
Okay.
Like, I don't know, it could be training, a training course. It could be through an experience, could be a project. Could
a situation
be
or something.
A situation, yeah, by accident.
Okay, yeah.
It just the environment you were in. So that's a great thing to say. I have this skill because of this experience, or I took this course, or I did this thing. Like, so that's the background information about how you got that skill. Right, King? Yay!
Finally, you're in the
I
video.
think he's like, yes, Bob, of course, you're right.
Yes.
And then another good thing is, why did you develop the skills, right? That doesn't happen in the CV. That's never explained in the CV.
Okay.
Why did you develop the skills? What process did you go through to obtain those skills, and how long was that process? Like, if you go through a 6-month course, that's really good information. Like, I went through a 6-month long course on this skill, like this piece of software.
That shows that you're passionate about that skill.
Exactly.
Yes.
And it shows your personality. So you'll see you'll see a theme here. Like, your personality starts to come out. Like, you want to show your character. Like, do you have grit? Do you have dedication? Like,
Yeah.
you want that to sort of come out of all this. And then, where is the evidence for those skills on the CV? You know, you add something like, as can be seen in this job role at this time period.
Yes.
Like, this is the evidence. You don't want to have skills with no evidence, right? Because that's really a lie.
Yes.
That's
it's
a
like
separate.
you are giving a chance, like in the CV you have skills such as, let's say, problem solving.
Exactly.
Or let's say MS Excel. And then in the cover letter you can show that, okay, I learned MS Excel with this website, with this course. I took 3 months course. Yeah, that shows your passionation. Like, yeah. Is there a word like that?
Yeah, it shows your dedication.
Dedication, exactly.
Yeah, your interests.
Exactly, yes. That you're interested in that type of skills, and that usually, resonates with the job you're applying for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep, that's right. And it all, like, the other thing it does is it shows you're not lying, right? Because that's a separate video.
Yes.
I want to do a video on that. But, like, a lot of people just throw the skills in, boom, 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 and, like, no evidence, no background, and it's like,
that makes sense. That really makes sense. Exactly,
yeah. When you show the background.
Especially the skill things in
Yeah.
the CVs are like confusing.
Mm-hmm.
The recruiters doesn't know whether it's true or not, because you can show the proof of your experience and all, but not the skills. Cover letter is a good way to, like, show what actually
to clarify
is exactly, yes.
To clarify
like as an evidence.
Exactly. And then you want to also say, how will those skills help the company that you're applying to? Like,
How does it connects with it?
Like, how are those skills going to be valuable to the company?
Okay.
And that, by the way, overlaps with job interviews. That's a separate video too that I already did. But a very typical job interview question is, what skills can you bring to us? This is a very common job interview skill, right? And you answer that question already in the cover letter, which is really nice, actually. Yeah, so that's about skills. And you also, like, if you were really struggling for more material on cover letters, which I don't think is necessary, but you could think of other job interview questions, because that's a job interview question. What skills can you bring to us? Okay, next theme is achievements.
Okay.
And it's very similar. Like, how did you reach that achievement? Like, how did you obtain that achievement? And what preparation did you undertake to obtain such, like, a milestone? You could also think of it as a milestone or achievement. You reach some goal, you achieve something, or you have some milestone. What was the process that led up to that milestone or achievement or whatever? And again, it's that character theme. Like, do you have dedication? Like, did you go through a difficult process? That's a great thing to put in a cover letter.
Among how many people you achieved those award or something.
Exactly. Did you go through a difficult process to get to that point in time, that milestone or achievement. If you did, that's a great thing to state in the cover letter.
Okay.
Really, really great. Like it shows that you have dedication, like discipline, grit, you know, and you can sort of do something that's difficult, you know.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Skills achievements, the next is awards. I know not everybody's going to have awards that they can put on, but if you do have awards, you definitely want to put them on there, and you want to
So
think.
awards is the third theme, right?
Third theme,
Okay.
yeah.
Here comes a question. There might be few people who will be saying, you know, what's the difference between an achievement and an award?
Yeah. Like, an achievement is like, I just finished my 100th, well, marathon is not a very good example.
Okay.
I just finished my 100th test or something like that.
Okay.
Like I got to this goal. Like I just, well, and something.
I went on top of the mountain, Everest.
Yeah. I managed to climb Mount Everest. That's an extreme example.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have some examples in my own cover
Okay,
letter.
sure. Okay.
But that's the idea. You've accomplished something, but you don't get an award for it. Like I got my black belt for, well, that's an award too in some ways. That's a recognition. But it's like something you reached, but you didn't necessarily get an award for.
Okay, but
Like
that's a big achievement.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I finally got like 100,000 views on my YouTube video.
Yeah.
Would be a milestone or
Yes.
achievement.
Okay. Yeah.
Or the 10,000th subscriber, or something like that.
Mhm,
You know
yeah,
what I
that
mean?
makes sense,
It's
yeah.
a milestone or achievement that you think is good, and it shows some of your personality.
Okay.
And then like, what preparation did you do to lead up to that achievement? It overlaps a lot with skills. The questions, like, what was that process in that time period that led up to that achievement? It overlaps heavily with skills.
Okay.
Like, yeah, the third is the awards. If you have awards, like, I remember also struggling with this way. Like, I didn't win any awards. Like,
Okay.
But if you think hard enough, usually you can figure out something. Usually, like, it could be a little scholarship, for example. It doesn't have to be a full scholarship. It could be a prize. You might have got first place somewhere, somehow, in something. Or maybe a very special high score, like you scored the highest on some tests. That would be more of an achievement, actually, because
Like,
you might
yeah,
not
you're
get
the topper of your class in that year. Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
But anyways, awards are very good. And if you have an award, you want to describe the selection criteria, like you mentioned.
Yeah. Yes.
What
That's important, yeah.
how were those awards selected? What were the criteria to get those awards? And then, like you mentioned before, out of how many? So if there were 100 people that could have received the award, and then you are the one that got it, that's definitely information you want
Yes.
to add.
That
That's
should,
really,
yeah,
really
exactly. That
good.
should be in your CV or call letter, yeah.
And I have another note here. Okay, how selective. You want to add information about how selective it is. Now, if you got an award that, like, you were the top out of 3, then you would leave that out.
Okay, yes.
Or it's like you got the award because you were the only one that entered. You would just leave that information
Yes.
out. But usually that's not true.
Mhm.
I had a friend that did get a very impressive sounding first prize in a technical on a technical award, and I said, like, congratulations, that's really great, and it's something he can definitely put on his CV.
Okay.
But he said it's not that great because there were only 6 entries.
Okay.
So he's gonna leave that part off, obviously.
But still, just mention you got first prize.
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly. The award, the top
Yes.
award for this competition. And it was a competition.
Yeah,
it was
exactly,
a competitive thing. So skills, achievements, awards. And then the fourth theme is data and numbers.
Data and numbers.
Yes. Anytime you can add data or numbers to your cover letter or CV, actually, you want to. So, for example, like that's a number too. Like if you got an award, out of how many? That's an example of data and numbers. Adding data and numbers. Like, did you graduate top 10 in your class? If so, like which position were you and how many people were in your class?
Okay.
Like that's another example of data and numbers.
Okay. Yeah.
Your degree classification is a kind of classic example. But anytime you can add a number and quantify anything, you want to do that, generally speaking. Look for things you can quantify, like I did this process for 6 months, or I got 10,000 of these things, like, or I came in 5th out of 100. Anytime you can add numbers and quantify the achievements, skills, or awards, it's really good.
Okay.
It's really, really good.
It gives a sense of, proof as well.
Yeah,
Like,
it's evidence.
like evidence.
It's
exactly.
evidence.
That looks.
It looks more believable.
Exactly.
It might look very impressive. It might.
Good impression.
If I had had this video and this advice when I was writing my first cover letters, I never put this in, but I could have, and it would have been so good. Like for my physics degree, the dropout rate was crazy high. So it started with 150 students and only 10 graduated.
Oh.
I could have put that in my cover letter if I had known, if I had this advice.
Yes, yeah.
And I think, oh, dang. Similar with computer science. So in my computer science class started with 350, I think, and it only graduated like 35, something like that.
That's amazing.
Yes, it was very, very competitive, intense.
And that's, somehow unique as well. I've never heard of this, of the advice. Like, you can include numbers and like data as well.
Yeah, I've never heard any of this advice.
Maybe that's a thing that makes you stand out from the other people.
Exactly. I haven't heard any of this advice for cover letters and CVs.
Yeah, that's new for me as well. Exactly. Yeah.
It's surprising. It's strange and surprising. It's just a bunch of fluff. So I mentioned in like data and numbers. Did you do anything with a high dropout rate or a low success rate? Like if you took a course that had a high dropout rate, then you mention that. Or if you did anything with a low success rate or a high dropout rate, you can mention that. Like I survived this thing.
Yes.
Somehow. And if you have any deliverables that you can quantify, that's another chance. So I delivered, 10 marketing presentations at this job, or I trained 50 new employees at this job. Anytime you can quantify what you did, it's so good. It's so good. Like I did this number of times, or like this took this long, and all those kinds of pieces of information. Yeah.
Exactly.
Data and numbers. Okay, so that's it. That's the magic recipe.
It, exactly. Secret recipe.
It's only one page, so it's not that difficult.
That's good. Let's see.
Yep. I'm gonna review my own cover letter now.
That's what I'm interested in. It's the first time for me as well. I haven't seen any cover letters.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
I will put this in the video too. I will show it.
Really?
I'm not.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll show it. So, but this is an academic one.
Okay.
It's pretty long. It's 2 pages.
Okay,
instead
just
of
one question. Let's say
Yeah.
it's the cover letter is for an industry jobs.
Yeah.
How long should it be?
Just one page.
Just one page.
2 or 3 paragraphs.
And one more doubt we have, like, do we include, let's say, the recipient's name, my address or something, and just like a letter on top of it? Or should we just start with dear hiring manager or something?
No, it's good to you have your own address in there.
Mm-hmm.
What does this one have actually? This one only has my own address.
Yes.
And then it says to whom it may concern.
Because
That's
you're not actually sending the letter to someone, so you cannot have the address of the other people. The hiring thing.
Yeah,
Maybe.
exactly. You don't have to put their address.
Yes.
The only thing I changed is the first sentence.
Mm-hmm.
So the first sentence says like what job you're applying for and where you're applying for it. That's the first sentence, and that's the one sentence
Mm-hmm.
that I change for each time I send it.
Or you can have a job reference number as well.
Exactly, you
Yes.
include the job reference number.
Yeah.
I am applying for the following job at the following university or company.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I didn't include it here, but it should be.
Okay.
And that I don't know why it's not here actually. I'm surprised, but it should be. Like that's the first sentence.
Okay.
It should be the first sentence. So I just have the first paragraph. So mine, when I wrote this, I didn't have that advice. And so what did I do when I was writing cover letters? I just tried to extract the best parts of my CV and highlight them. And I did do one thing. I use a lot of numbers.
Okay.
Everything is quantified. That was my thinking. Like you have these milestones and achievements, and they always have numbers.
And can we know like how old is this cover letter? Like when actually you wrote it?
I wrote this in 2019, so
Okay.
it's kind of it's 4 years old,
4 years, okay.
something 5, 4
4
or
or
5.
5, yeah.
But it developed over time. Like
Mhm.
I just took the first one and I updated it
Okay.
over the years. Which is what I would encourage everybody to do, right?
Mhm.
Start with the initial draft and you update it. You would never like start from scratch every time, right? You want to take the existing draft and improve it each time,
Mhm.
you know. I have 4 sections. Like one's called International Quality Research. So for an academic position, they want you to talk about your research. They want you to say that your research is good. So that's why there's a section that's called like International Quality Research. I just mentioned how many papers I've published,
Okay.
right, as a milestone.
Mhm.
I mentioned how many journal papers I've published, how many conference papers I published, and I mentioned specific journals, like this many papers in this top journal, this many papers in this top journal, the number of conference publications, best paper awards. I mentioned best paper awards, like 4. I mentioned, this is a good one. I mentioned papers that were nominated for best paper award. So if you don't have an award,
That's an achievement. That goes with an
yes,
achievement.
if you get nominated for an award, you
Okay.
put that down.
Okay.
Yeah, so I put down like 4 papers nominated for best paper award. So that's really good, actually. And then I mentioned like the amount of grant money that I brought in from the different funding sources. And then I say like this is why this journal is a good journal.
Okay.
That's the research part. Then I have an internationally recognized esteem paragraph. So it's like I did a volunteer role where I organized a big conference, a big European conference, and I put that in there. I was given some, I was nominated into a special group, and it was like by invitation only, a special group that, recognizes people who have contributed to the field, the field that I work in. Yeah. What's ended up here is roles that I've taken on that are voluntary, but contribute to my field, right? Like the leader of the UK chapter in Eurographics, which isn't going to make any sense to anybody here, but it's a leadership role that I carried out voluntarily, and that was had international visibility,
Okay.
so I can put that down. I put down like how many invited talks I've given, how many keynote talks, how many countries I gave talks in.
Okay.
I put that in there. How many different US states I was invited to give a talk in. How many program committees I served on. How many workshops and conferences I've helped organize. Maybe I wasn't the lead organizer, but I helped organize them. How many journals I've reviewed for conferences and that sort of stuff. And then like citations, how many citations I have, Google Scholar and all that stuff.
Okay.
Teaching, then I have a section called teaching, right? So every academic position wants to know about your research, your esteem, like how people see you.
So
Then
basically, teaching over here is like referring your skills.
I'll try to explain, like for what have I done in terms of teaching? What is my teaching experience? I tried to summarize it in a very compact way, right, King?
Yes.
Like I did get a teaching award, right? I put that in there. I have I was invited to teach a class at another university. That's nice. So if you get an invitation to do something, that's a great thing to put in your cover letter.
Okay.
Anytime somebody says, "Oh, can you come and like give this workshop?" If you're invited to do something, definitely want to put it in your cover letter.
Yeah,
Definitely.
that's good. Yeah.
I just put down how many different classes I've taught, like how many years I taught. I've published some teaching material, and I've taught at some conferences. So it's like it gives you just kind of an overview of teaching accomplishments and achievements. And then the last section is supervision. I talk about like how many PhD students I supervised, how many master's students I supervised, and like publications associated, and then like a seminar that I started. So that's it. That's it. It's like research, esteem, teaching, and supervision, but every single line has a number in it.
Yes.
Every single line.
Actually, yeah, I can see.
Like 10 conferences or 10 PhD students or this many master's students. And for the event that I organized and founded, I put down like how long it went on for, like how many sort of meetings we had. I was like obsessed with numbers when I was writing this.
Yes.
Basically. And and I just thought, oh, it's so nice to get those numbers in there. Like I think it really stands out. Like it's very convincing. Nobody's going to be like, oh, he's lying.
Like exactly.
Yeah, so that's my own cover letter. Okay, that's it.
I guess King is impressed.
Yeah, King, thanks. Thanks for making an appearance.
Exactly, the guest appearance.
That will help the video get some more views. Right? People like, I don't care about the cover letter stuff. I can see the King in the video.
Yes. The video should go viral now. Right, King?
So that's it. You think you can write a good cover letter now?
I wish, I think yes. You actually cleared one of my doubts as well. I'll just speak about it. It's like, we have a doubt like, okay, but we cannot have a fixed cover letters. But I guess you should have a fixed one because somehow you're applying to a different set of jobs that require different set of skills. Like, fixed set of skills. So why are you changing your cover letters again and again? You just change the job reference, the company name, and that's it. Because it's not like you're going to apply for a doctor job and then suddenly you're applying for an engineer job. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So you will always apply to a certain field that requires fixed amount of skills in it. So you don't have to change your cover letters again and again.
It's not realistic. That's one of the many, many bad pieces of advice out there.
Yeah.
You just want some little piece of evidence that cover letter is for that job application, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
just that one first sentence is enough. It's not realistic to try to write a new cover letter
For every job.
for every job application that like tries to adjust the skills. You want to have like one cover letter that's the best quality you can make it. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
And if you try to change it too much for each position, you'll just go insane, basically.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
The way I've set mine up is kind of funny in the sense that that first sentence that gets changed, since I use this special piece of software that to write my things called LaTeX, which is not very popular, but it lets me comment it out, put it in the history of the document, and then insert the new one. So I have a complete history of all the positions I applied for, you know, in the cover letter. Actually, you can't see that in the PDF, but you can see it in the raw, let's say the raw file that I'm editing. Yeah,
Okay.
which is pretty cool. But yeah, you have to just be careful that you don't introduce errors. That's another thing. If you were to try to customize it too much for each time you apply for a job, you're more likely to introduce errors.
Yes.
The more changes you're making each time, the more likely errors creep in. And I'm sure I've made the error where I didn't change the first sentence perfectly, and it like there was a mismatch between like the job title that I was applying for and what it was in my cover letter.
Yes.
You know, probably I made that mistake a few times. But yeah, it will just drive you crazy.
Exactly, yeah, that's not intentionally, but yeah, when you have a habit of changing your cover letters or your documents again and again, you will somehow make errors.
Yeah, eventually you'll make an
Yes.
error. Yeah. It's another piece of bad advice. There's so much bad advice out there. So much. And before I did this video, I looked, I used Google like to cover letter advice, and I always had this feeling like, okay, you've told me what not to do, or you've told me what to do, but I still don't know what to write.
Yes.
I still don't know. There was one piece of good advice that I saw, which was, if you happen to know somebody already at the company, then you mention that person.
Exactly, yeah. If they're referring you, or even if
Yeah.
they're not.
So like the reason, I mean, that is nice to know, but it's like, how often is that going to happen? That's not going to happen very often.
No.
That you
Exactly,
know
yeah.
somebody already there and that you can mention that in the cover letter. But anyways, I thought that was the one interesting piece of advice that I saw in my brief search.
That's unique as well. Let's say I'm applying for a company and I know a employee over there, and I can tell that he worked that project and all that. I'm interested.
Yes.
Yeah, it shows my
Yeah.
passion towards that company. That's the passion that you can show.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There is a subtlety though. You want to be sure that person
Exactly.
is a good employee.
Exactly, yes.
You want to be affiliated.
Yes.
So when I applied to the University of Nottingham, I did not mention. I knew two people, but I didn't mention them.
Oh, really?
I didn't. Probably I could have.
Apply again. I feel like yes. Do it again.
And when I applied to like Swansea University, I didn't mention the guy that I knew there actually. Well, I didn't know him very well, but I never used that. Maybe my success rate would have increased, but it was very rare that I knew somebody. But when I think back, maybe I could have used that more often.
Yes. That's a unique thing, yep.
But what I always did was like, if I applied for a job where I knew somebody, I would mention it to the person I knew, and I would say, can you go tell your boss like that I just applied for their job and make the connection.
Go tell your boss to hire me.
Yeah, so I would do like a verbal connection rather than a written sort of statement. Just like tell this person, and then hopefully they'll mention it to the hiring committee or whatever.
Yeah. That creates a difference, yeah.
Yeah, I think it helps. I think it does help, actually. It does, because then the hiring committee can then get the opinion of that person that knows you. Like, they'll get an informal opinion off the record, strictly verbal. That definitely happens. I mean, who wouldn't do that?
Yes.
Anybody would do that. Right, Kate? Okay, I think that's good, right?
Yeah,
We're probably
that's
half an hour or
exactly.
something.
Yeah, that's good, yeah.
Oh, thank you for that. I feel so much better.
Yes.
Got it off my chest.
Finally, King
Yes.
is now video.